Hello, everyone. We are excited to have Catherine join us as we talk about fixing the broken run.
Leah, I think I'm hearing the other session. Can I get that?
So you're seeing, are you hearing more music or are you,
I'm hearing the other session.
do you have that open in another browser?
Let me see. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Hello, friends. We've been here all day and I'm already the one that couldn't figure out to get out of the session ahead of me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very honored that you have chosen to spend the next 30 minutes with me. I have spent almost 30 years, yikes, working with people as they navigate career. I was invited to speak on this topic because as I've worked with individuals at all levels of the organization, I have become particularly attentive to the issues of women and how they progress in career. After some research and yes, personal experience, I focused on why still in 2025, we are lamenting that women continue to lag in advancement to the highest levels of the organization. And what I've come to is that there are 2 points in most women's careers that are the main causes of this situation. And I also believe that those 2 points are very seldom given the attention they need and deserve to be recognized as the culprits that they are. I mean, this has been frustrating us since I started in my career many decades ago. So before we get started, I would like to tell you that my colleague Leah is with us. Thank you so much, Leah. And she will be monitoring the chat. Please use the chat to comment, to ask questions, to add perspective. And she will be monitoring it. She's going to let me know. I'm one of those who can't monitor the chat because I get so into my presentation. So she's going to signal me if there's something I need to address immediately. Otherwise, we will talk about what's going on at the end of the presentation. Thank you so much. So let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to talk about today. Uh-oh, Leah. There we go. So we're going to talk a little bit about the current representation of women in the U.S. workforce. I believe there are 2 broken rungs with regard to women's progression, and we're going to talk about where those are and what their impact is. And then we're going to talk about both strategies about what individuals can take to clear the broken rungs and actions that organizations can take also to fix the broken rungs. I want individuals to clear them. I want organizations to fix. So here's where we are. Having a little trouble. There we go. Here's where we are. So this is the current representation by gender and race in 2023 in our corporations. You can see that women start out with 48% of the roles entry level and continue to lose ground as we progress into higher levels of the organization. Now, because we have so little time, I'm going to talk about women in general. As you can imagine, there are different demographics that experience this in different ways, and certainly women of color experience this at a much lower level than other women. This phenomenon, what am I doing? See, I used to be able to run slide sets. I'm going to ask for a little help, Leah.
No problem. Catherine, I can jump in and advance your slides for you.
Okay. All right. If you don't mind doing that, I would certainly appreciate it, because I seem to not be hitting the right thing here. So,
not a problem.
So here is what happens. If we could go back one slide, please. So there's a broken rung. Now, right here at the beginning of career, women start to miss that first rung in the ladder. I will tell you that there is an appalling lack of research on why this happens, but other studies that have been undertaking for other issues in career have shown several potential reasons. And it can be attributed to unconscious bias and stereotypes. For instance, traits such as assertiveness and decisiveness and competitiveness may appear to be more masculine, and women might become unfairly stereotyped. We're going to talk a little bit about that a little later on. There is a lack of sponsorship. I hope that everyone had the opportunity to hear Dr. Chow's keynote on this specific issue, because men often benefit more from sponsorship in the workplace, and that is a key factor in progression. There is also workplace culture, particularly in those cultures that are more masculine dominant, such as finance, tech, and engineering, which can result in more men being visible for promotion. And then just gendered roles in the workplace. Over 80% of organizations say that employee well-being is important, but only about 20% actually practice it. And when women take up this particular part of the organization, supporting well-being, flexibility, work-life balance, it is not recognized in performance appraisals, and yet it takes up so much time. So let's talk about, I'm going to let you advance it. Oh, there we go. Here's what happens. And this slide looks kind of blurry on my screen, so I hope it doesn't on yours. But what this graph shows is the total number of women promoted to manager for every 100 men that are promoted. In general, in early promotions to management, men get 60% of the promotions and women get 40%. And you can see this last year, we even had a little bit of loss after a little bit of progression. When this happens, there are fewer and fewer and fewer women as we rise in levels of the organization. So this is kind of a double whammy. There are fewer women at each level of the organization. Combine that with fewer opportunities as we rise into progressively higher levels. And so these factors, among others, create kind of a complex environment where men have greater access to opportunities and resources necessary to continue to progress into management. So these are the two culprits that I referenced before. There are two main places for women where there is a broken rung. As we've already noted, early career is one of them, and we're going to mostly talk about early career today. And then we are also going to talk about motherhood and what happens when we become mothers. Now, these rungs break for each individual woman at a different time in her career, but the circumstances are the same. And these circumstances impact the general progression of women in an organization and therefore in our workforce in general. So let's talk about age first. Ageism is not just for women like me with white hair. It also happens at the other end of the spectrum, when women enter their career. Young women are more likely to say that their age negatively impacted their prospects for promotion. You can see on one side of this slide the percentage of women and men who talk about getting unwanted comments about their age. About twice as many women say that. And then on the other side of the slide, how hard it is to get promoted. And that is a very, very distressing statistic there for young women early in their career. This is the impact of what happens with age. You can see that this is a slide that shows men and women talking about whether or not their age impacted their prospects for promotion. So you can see across the age spectrum what happens here. And regardless of age, it is more impactful for women as they progress even into higher management. So why does this happen? All right, so we're just being realistic here. We cannot exactly change our age. None of us can, but we can change our perception and, dare I say, the unconscious bias that comes with that, that our coworkers have as we are young women entering into career. So being practical and recognizing some of the points that I made a little while ago about why we think this is happening, let's talk about some strategies that I believe support a woman in early career to surmount her age. Can't get away from it. So I believe that early women can develop 4 components of professional presence and also become mindful of the difference between being liked and being respected. So let's talk a little bit about those 4 components. The first one is confidence. We all struggle with imposter syndrome, even at my age and even with the accomplishments that I've had in my career. I still sometimes am not sure I belong in a specific room. But you have to speak up for yourself. You have to be your strongest advocate. You have to develop a professional presence that works for you. Find your own style, dress and present yourself as if you are ready for the intellectual engagement of your work, and that shows that you respect yourself and you respect those with whom you interact. If you didn't hear Cindy DeTroy's and Melody Wilding's presentations earlier on these couple of points, I encourage you to go and review their videos. Now, I realize that many of us have real trouble talking about ourselves, but you have to let your superiors know what you are accomplishing. Studies have shown that women tend to work hard and expect people to notice. It doesn't happen. no matter how good you are. So here's one easy tip for you to do. Each week, send your supervisor a quick bullet-pointed report of what you've accomplished that week, what you contributed to other initiatives, and the ways you problem solved or analyzed data. Include any recognition that you got. You can put that in other people's mouths, so it's not like you're blowing your own horn. You can simply say what other people or what your professional organization has said about you. Now, the first time you put this report together, it might be a little hard, but after each time, it will get easier, I promise. And then hopefully you'll get follow-up comments and you will learn what's important to your boss and come to know what to focus on. This is really, really important because research shows that men are promoted based on potential and women are promoted based on performance. You have to let people know what your performance metrics are. Now, here are a couple of ways that we as women come across as not being completely confident, come across as kind of unsure, tentative, timid, and sometimes even misinterpreted. Sharing credit. Yes, it builds goodwill to acknowledge others' contributions, but be sure to take your accolades when they come along. You say thank you. If there are other people that you want to say that you want to share a little bit of credit with, then say, I'm very pleased with the success of this project. Let me recognize my coworkers who also contributed. Always take your accolades. Corollary to that is acting modest. Oh, it was nothing. Oh, it was fine. No. Thank the person for whatever compliment you've gotten. And if you want to say something, say, I welcomed the opportunity to take this project on and make a success of it. Apologizing. Please, please take the introductory, I'm very sorry, but out of your vocabulary. Don't be sorry for having an opinion or for disagreeing or for knowing something that others don't. Make declarative statements. I disagree with you because there is one point we have not addressed. My opinion on this is, please work these muscles, practice, and you will convey the confidence that will help people understand that you can, in fact, be promoted. The second point is credibility. I want you to present as if you are always in possession of yourself. To do this, know yourself, know your stuff, demonstrate that you know what the real question is, that you're not down in the weeds, that you're not wandering off into other areas. You know what needs to be done. You know how it needs to be done. Maintain your boundaries and control your emotions. We all have to vent. When you need to, go find someone outside your organization. We all occasionally have to cry. Run into the bathroom. There is no crying in the conference room. Be mindful of what your body language and your voice is conveying. We as women sometimes kind of slouch. We kind of get resting bitch face. I know I do. And our voices tend to rise as we become more emotional. Maintain your body language. Maintain your voice. Do not gossip. Walk away. I know this is tricky. I know it is. But educating your colleagues that you do not engage in these types of behaviors builds trust and helps them understand your professionalism. So just be noticed for the qualities that enhance your organization and your culture. Now, here's a little secret. If you want to connect, if you want to demonstrate your credibility to someone higher up in the organization, ask that person for some advice. People love giving advice. And as a bonus, people think you are really smart when you ask them for advice. So that's a bonus. Be sure and send them a little note and tell them how you use the advice. Remember, this is the way you show them that you have potential, just like the men. The next component is being a decision maker. So let's take a non-work example. Think about when you were going to go out on Friday night with your friends and y'all were trying to decide what to do. And somebody says, I don't care. And somebody says, I don't know. What does everybody else want to do? And somebody says, oh, I thought we were going to go out to eat. But when a person, you, says, let's do this. Let's go try out that new restaurant down the block. People will say, okay. Why? Because people like to have someone make a decision. It makes them feel secure. And this is true in the workplace also. Now, as you go into entry-level positions, you're going to be making small decisions, but make them. And when you put them on when you're writing your weekly report, note the decisions that you've made. Waffling and deferring to others is just not strong. It's not credible. It does not convey confidence. Reflect your knowledge, not your fears. To make decisions, you have to build a tolerance for uncertainty. As decisions become bigger and bigger, you're going to have to demonstrate that you can make them without a full component of the information. Decision making is not for the weak at heart. It is for managers. It is for directors. It is for vice presidents. It is for chiefs. Now, everyone might not agree with your decision, but I guarantee you they will respect you for making it, especially if they know that you have had the best interests of the organization and your department in mind. Now for our next component, come a little closer. I want to tell you something really, really important. Perfectionism is not your friend. It will get you nowhere. Let me tell you why. When you are trying to achieve the elusive perfect, you are taking action detrimental to your own self-interest in a couple of ways. First, you are busy down in the details and so are missing the big picture. Now, your job might require you to handle a lot of details, and you certainly need to do that. But you need to demonstrate that you understand that those details are part of a bigger, broader view. As you rise higher and higher in an organization, your responsibilities become less detailed and more of that broad view. Show them that you get that and you understand how to analyze it. Second, you have the potential of inadvertently telling your coworkers that you don't think they can do what they need to be doing. As you rise into management, you will need a lot of goodwill. Goodwill comes from building solid relationships where others feel that you value them and that you value their expertise. We all want to be proud of our expertise. Now, I know. It is a lot easier and a lot quicker and a lot better to do it yourself. And they might not even do it the way you think it should be done. This is going to take a lot of patience, but it will be worth it Get the big things right. Be productive, not perfect. Focus on problem solving and prioritizing people. It will serve you well. Now, while we're all circled around, let's talk about another important consideration. Do you have to be liked? I call the need to be liked the eighth deadly sin for women. It can be a real calamity. It will cause you to make choices based on how you think others will perceive them and you, how they perceive you, rather than what is best. It will make you hypersensitive. You have to be open to feedback and you have to be able to take action on it. It will cause you to act in ways that do not feel true to yourself. You'll be prone to conform rather than show your genuine personality, knowledge, and abilities. We as women are so susceptible to negative labels. I hope that some of the points we have just talked about will help mitigate those labels that might get hung on you and will help you clear that first broken rung into the first level of management. So now, let's talk a little bit about the second broken rung, and that is when a woman becomes a mother. Many of you, sounds like there are already some mothers in the audience, and many of you will choose to become mothers. Through my research, I posit that motherhood is the primary driver of gender inequality in the workplace. There are 24 million mothers with children under 18 in the U.S. workforce. 71% of them have children under 18. You can extrapolate that then only 22% have children under the age of 6. Are you starting to see that broken rung? Furthermore, a majority of women say they are treated as if they have mommy stamped on their forehead, and that being a mother is paramount to other identities in the workplace. A quarter of mothers say that they are treated as less capable to perform and to produce and to be committed to their career. They are 40% more likely than fathers to report that childcare issues harmed their careers. And yet, their likability, that we talked about before, is adversely impacted if they are considered to be a bad mother for pursuing career. So let's see what this looks like. The Economist did a very far-reaching research project in 2024, last year. They did a study of 132 countries to find out some things about the workforce. And one of their major findings was that there is a major drop in retention of women after the birth of their first child, and that it takes these women more than 10 years to recover their career trajectory. So I pulled a few English-speaking countries from several of the continents. And as you can see, men and women start out on the same overlapping lines on the graph. Then, whoa, look what happens after the birth of the first child. There is no effect on the men and a major effect on the women. And this is true for all of the 132 countries that The Economist surveyed, except for several in the developing world. This is what it looks like in the United States. This is a graph of men and women in the U.S. workforce by age. You can see that it's pretty even until early career and then childbearing and the child raising years. And you will see that the lines never converge again. Here's a more graphic description. So on the left, you see working life histories of men, and on the right, you see working life histories of women. This is from age 18 to 55. That green swath denotes part-time and opt-out. As an aside, on myself, I think of the women who decide to no longer pursue the career they were educated for and what we lose out there. And I think of her loss of income and the organization's loss of institutional knowledge. There is something called the motherhood penalty. This is an actual term. And it is the average amount by which a woman's probability of being employed declines during the 10 years after the birth of her first child. There is no fatherhood penalty. So, as we finish up, I hope that some of you were able to hear Kelly Ling's presentation on how to manage your maternity leave. And she did a really excellent job on kind of talking through what a woman needs to do. I believe that this is really the organization's responsibility as much as the woman herself. I advise organizations on what they can do to retain women through their maternity leave. So some of the things that I think an organization can do is determine where the broken rung is, both at early career and at motherhood. Why is it broken? What happens? All right. Then as a result, that they can start evaluating their recruiting, retention strategies, and what their job descriptions look like. I believe that another important component of this is assessing performance evaluation metrics. Kelly talked a little bit about this too, to control for unconscious bias for age and for motherhood, and also to regulate equitable performance standards, especially for those who are hybrid, remote, and who come back from maternity leave. To do this, we got to train supervisors. We've got to train them how to manage these employees, and we need to train them on strategies for retention and progression of young career and women and mothers. And then we need to implement support systems. If we have time, I will get to that in the chat. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I'm going to get to the chat in just a moment. I'm going to tell you just a little bit about me, if I may. And that is, my company is called Back to Work. I consult to organizations on the issues that we discussed today. For organizations, I have a toolbox that is from the very simple to the more complex. I'm available for seminars and speaking engagements. I also have a workshop that I call the Back to Work workshop, and that's for individuals who've taken a leave and want to return to career. My next one will be at the start of the school year. I invite you to keep an eye on my webpage for that if you would like to register. And I also will conduct this workshop in person if there's a group of 8 to 12 who would like to do it together. I invite you to please follow me on LinkedIn and feel free to email me. I would welcome the opportunity to work with any of you on an individual or with your organization. I also am available to speak, write, present. So I am now going to take a look at the chat.
Well, actually, I'm so sorry, Catherine. We are at time.
Oh
We
no, okay.
are
All right.
unfortunately.
Well, Leah, can I have access to the chat so that I can just kind of see what was happening?
Absolutely. So I will spotlight a few of the
Okay. I'm
questions
sorry I ran over everyone.
that came up. This was what came from Dana. I'm asking about, why or how women did not have access to the same opportunities, whether it was internally or externally. Allison also shared, kind of the challenge between crying and not crying, and understanding how it's important as an emotional release, but you can be viewed as fragile if you are doing that. So those were two of the.
How long did I run over?
We're about 5 minutes over. Is Amy
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not
I'm
a
assuming
problem.
I'm assuming the session is over, right?
Well, we're going to close it out, and
Okay.
thank you again. And Catherine, we'll be sure to share any feedback that we receive, and we just want to give a thank you to our folks for joining us as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I thank you so much. Please email me, and we can start a chat.
Absolutely. I'll leave your slide up for a second, and then we will head over to Amy's closing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.